Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And yes, it is Judd's Hockey Show. It is going on 2 p.m. Central Time here on Thursday, which puts us one day out, 24 hours out. At 2 o'clock, it'll be 24 hours until the National Hockey League trade deadline for the 2025-26 season hits. And of course, that's key for the Wild because they continue to look for a center, a top 6 center, AJ Fredrickson. They did acquire Michael McCarron on Tuesday from Nashville. He's probably going to be their fourth line guy. We got a lot to talk about. We do have centers being traded. We do not have elite centers being traded. And we also have some Vincent Trocheck news, which might not sit well with fans. But before we do that, I want to thank one of our great sponsors, and that is the fine folks at Victory Tire and Auto, who believe in relationships, and their goal is to serve customers for the long term with personalized, trustworthy, and consistent service. This means they do not want to see you once and have you say that was okay and leave. They want to have a satisfied customer for life. They're a family-owned business established right here in Minnesota back in 1997. They have an industry-leading 5-year, 50,000-mile warranty on all new parts and labor. Schedule an appointment at any of the 20-plus Twin Cities area locations. Just go to victorytireandauto.com. You tell them the Sports Dad, that's right, you say Sports Dad sent you, you're going to get $25 off any oil change service. That's right, just mention me, Sports Dad, and you're going to get $25 off. A heck of a deal there. They are going to do everything within their power to make sure that you go back to Victory Tire and Auto, that they service your car or your cars for life. Quality work, genuine care for all of life's miles at Victory Tire and Auto. All right, so multiple reports coming out now that the New York Rangers, first of all, the reports from, it sounds like, New York are the price on Vincent Trocheck, the center that we all think the Wild really wants, that the price tag is very high. No surprise there. The price tag is very high on a lot of guys. The report from The Athletic, and in particular, the two guys that cover the Wild and do a really good job, Michael Russo and Joe Smith, is that the Wild's hopes of getting Trocheck are fading. So, with all of that being said, I did see an unconfirmed report today that one of the sticking points, and we talked about this, it was obvious. One of the sticking points is the Rangers are asking for Wild third-line center rookie Danila Yurov to be included, that the Wild, we think, is offering Charlie Stramel. The Wild is offering their 2027 first and one of probably 3 prospects from the defensive pool at Iowa. And we haven't talked about this, Age, but I want to throw one thing before I turn it over to you to get your take. One interesting thing is Chris Drury, who is under immense pressure. I'm not sure he keeps his job. The Rangers GM, who, by the way, I'm not sure deserves to keep his job, so I don't feel bad for him at all. But one of the interesting things, and I've seen this referenced, Charlie Stramel was drafted by the Wild in 2023. He has remained in college since then. He has to sign his contract, so his first contract, by August 15th of this year, or he becomes a UFA. And if the Rangers, if he gets traded, now he's from here. He's from, I think, Rosemont, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That sounds correct, yeah.
Yeah, and so if he says, you know what, I don't really want to play there, he just has to be patient. And he will not go back into the draft. He will be an unrestricted free agent, free to sign wherever he wants. And I'm sure the Rangers are like, hold on a second here. First of all, we're currently a dumpster fire. Second of all, this kid has played at Wisconsin, Michigan State, and East Lansing, and he is from the Midwest. No guarantee that he's like, you know where I really want to play? The Rangers. So all in all, I don't blame the Rangers one bit. And I do think that if you want Trocheck, that it's Yurov, it's your first round pick in 27, and it's probably a prospect defenseman. Other than that, I just don't think the current offer, if this was indeed Bill Guerin's final offer age, I don't think it's going to get it done. And in this case, I guess the more I think about it, side with the Rangers and say, I don't blame them. I'm not going to take that chance.
Yeah, if he was already signed to that, that deal where, he's still down in college or whatever, and he wasn't just playing in the NHL, then that's one thing, but it's just his rights. Like, you're trading him, and there's a chance that I think the most notable one over the past, decade, maybe 15 years ago now, I'm trying to think of just how long it's been, but the Jimmy Vesey situation where, and granted, that was a little interesting because it felt like that guy was going to be this superstar. And I remember at like 29 of 30 whatever teams wanted this guy. And then he's just kind of been like a journeyman his entire career. He had, I think, a one or whatever. And funny enough, I think he went to the Rangers when he initially signed. So they know this far too well. But there's a good chance, just given how they look. And granted, it's the New York Rangers. It's a big market, so you'd have to think to a college kid right now that's somewhat appetizing and salivating. But at the same time, if he wants to go and right now he's like, if I sign, I'm playing on a team that has Quinn Hughes, Kirill Kaprizov, Brock Faber, Matt Boldy. That's the organization that currently has my rights. If he gets traded, he could be like, I don't really want to go there. So that would just be a massive fleece and make Drury look even worse. And like you said, is he already going to get fired at the end of this season? Is that plan in place? Like what's going on there? So you're right. I don't necessarily blame them. If there was a conversation where they were able to touch base and say, hey, we know there's some uncertainty here. Can we get off the record that you will for sure be signing with us? Then that's a completely different story. But I don't blame Chris Drury and his crew for saying, I want the sure thing. I want the guy that's signed to an entry-level deal and the guy that already has shown that he is that he's able to play NHL minutes, and that's Yurov. Yurov has, I think, the makings to be a very solid center for most teams in this league. He's obviously not there yet, but it's his rookie season. He's still growing. And for a team that right now really needs a 1C, I don't know if he will necessarily get up to that level, but any center position player is exactly what they need. They could pretty much do what they're doing with what they did with the Quinn Hughes trade, which is you're pretty much pressing that time travel button on a guy like Zeev Buium to now you have Quinn Hughes. Are you going to do that? And now, granted, it's going from an 18-year-old to 26 with Quinn Hughes. You're going from, I think Yurov is 21 to a 32-year-old with Trocheck. So it's like the price here is probably way more than anything we have even talked about, just because seeing what Jason Dickinson got from the Oilers, seeing some of these other deals that have actually trickled across today, Nicholas Waugh going from Toronto to the Colorado Avalanche really shocked me that garnered a first and a fifth. So I don't know if the deal that we have thought or have heard about in place over the past week or so is actually going to get things done.
No, and I, we've discussed this for a couple of days now. The Yurov piece makes perfect sense. Like, if you are the Rangers, you want that. You're trading a really effective, yes, Trocheck is 32, but he's got 12 goals. And most importantly, he's got 3 years left on a contract that carries a cap hit per an AAV of $5.6 million. Yeah. With today's cap, that's a freaking bargain. And he's not a true one, but he definitely is a huge upgrade. And we'll talk about this as well. The faceoffs, like, he is very, very good there. So I'm not surprised. If Bill Guerin is surprised, if he did offer Stramel a first round pick and then let's say spot check, your check, something like that, if he's surprised that the Rangers said no, he shouldn't be. Because when you look at this, and it's funny, about a day and a half ago, Pierre LeBrun, who's been doing this forever, an insider at The Athletic now, he's been a bunch of places. I think he's at TSN as well in Canada. Mm-hmm. Pierre LeBrun reported that it was going to be, or it was shaping up as a buyer's market. To which I thought, it's never a buyer's market. And then today, LeBrun came back and said, it's a seller's market. To which I thought, it's always a seller's market. Like, I know that there might be teams trying to dump guys off, but this is the time of year where you ask for the absolute moon. And then if you got to circle back and trade a guy in June, but like, teams have nothing to lose right now unless it's a third or fourth line guy. If you have a star player or a really good, effective player, teams have nothing to lose unless it's a guy who's going to hit free agency July 1st. They have nothing to lose by trying to wait. So, and if it's a guy who's going to be unrestricted, yeah, that's different. But Trocheck, again, has 3 years left. But let's go through what you just talked about, which is the trades that have been made so far. And I went through all of the trades involving centers thus far, starting with the Wild on Tuesday night, getting Michael McCarron from the Preds for a 2028 second round pick, fourth line guy. And we're all like, that's a high price. And Billy's like, F them picks. But we're still like, well, that's a high price. Sticker shock, right?
Yep.
Well, let's go through this. Last night, the Blackhawks acquire a conditional 2027 first from the Oilers, along with the much shopped and finally traded Andrew Mangiapane for, as you talked about, Jason Dickinson, who's 30, and Colton Dock, who's 23, and I think more of a throw-in now. Dickinson, though, is going to almost certainly now center the Oilers' fourth line. You'll see a trend here.
Okay. All right.
Today, this morning, the Golden Knights, as you said, acquire Nick Dowd from the Capitals for goaltender. He must be in the American League, I would guess. Jesper Vikman, a 2027 third-round pick, and a 2029 second-round pick for Nick Dowd, who, guess what, is probably going to center the fourth line because the top three in Vegas right now are Eichel, Marner, and Hertl, and I don't think Nick Dowd replaces them. No. And then after that, the Avs get Nick Waugh from the Leafs for a 2027 top 10 protected because the Avs are very concerned that they're going to finish in last place next season, and a conditional 2026 fifth round pick. So I will say this in defense of Bill Guerin, 36 hours after or thereabout, approaching that, after the McCarron trade and the sticker shock their age, like these are all fourth line guys and they're all commanding. We're talking about first round picks, conditional firsts. So like when you look at the prices and the sticker shock, this is the trade deadline in a nutshell here as far as what it's costing to even get a pivot that plays on your third or fourth line.
And this was the fear, right? This is why you see guys maybe opt to try to get deals done earlier than later. I mean, imagine right now, if Quinn Hughes was still with Vancouver and it was, you had all this time from the past month of conversations, they're looking to move him, et cetera, what would the price for a guy like that be now? Considering, I think, in retrospect, even though it's been about a little over 30 days removed, it seems like the Wild so far have very handedly won that trade, considering what Marco Rossi, Zibuiam, Ogren have done so far with their times in Vancouver. It feels like we're watching this, like every team is sort of pumping more air into this balloon, and it looks like it's full. And then it's like, I know, we can get another conditional first in there. We can do whatever. It's another fourth liner. That's fine. What team is going to go a little bit too much and that balloon's going to pop and everybody's going to lose their mind over a blockbuster trade? Because I think it's also well regarded. Speaking of having eyes on things, everybody has eyes on some of the top centers currently being shopped and talked about. Robert Thomas, young and a very hefty price tag on him. It seems like teams are sort of backing off there just due to, I guess, Boston was sort of in the market. They, for the time being, have backed off. Utah at one point was rumored there. Buffalo was rumored there.
Yeah.
The price is just simply too high. Trocheck is the one giving his age, but he has still term, and that's the thing here that also kind of complicates things because you're going to have 3 more years after this one. I don't think, just given that he's like the top center available that everybody is expected to move, they're able to ask for, in your phrasing of it, the moon. But the question here is, will time run out? Because as much as there is a deadline for the buyers, there's also one for the sellers. How much does Chris Drury and the Rangers want to move on from there? Obviously, you could always just redo this next year. And maybe his opinion on how far he moves west changes, and then that opens up for them to grab more because maybe a team on the West Coast is able to pay more than somebody like the Wild or somebody on the East Coast right now. Mm-hmm. But if they have already sort of said their goodbyes and it's this agreement that, hey, we're going to move you, they might have to just take the offer because, you go to sales, all these, a garage sale or something like that. People have to, I guess if that's your best offer, I sort of have to do it. I don't know necessarily if they will come back down to what this offer is that Bill Guerin has on the table. But from the reports we've heard, it sounds like something is there. Will Bill Guerin kind of do the, well, hey, I got to do something. Right. I need these assets back.
Right.
This is your final chance before, now it's enough. Gotcha. Now let's do the deal. We'll see. We got 24 hours to see how that's all going to shake out.
And my guess is he will have to put, if he wants Trocheck. I mean, who could be moved to Detroit, Carolina. My guess is that Guerin's going to have to sweeten the pot, and he's probably going to have to sleep on, would you be willing to give up Urov? Because if you're the Rangers, you don't have to trade him. And Trocheck clearly likes it there. I mean, clearly his family does as well. So it's not like he is in there pounding the table. Now, if the Rangers get the right package back, it makes sense for them to trade him. But I don't feel like this is an acrimonious, Vincent Trocheck has demanded to be moved. And so this is one where I think if you're Bill, because the Athletic story, I believe, said this as well, and you have to believe it to be absolutely true. You're not done. Like, you are trying to find a top 6 guy. In fact, throw up a quote if you'd be kind enough. I believe it was at 1:51 p.m. from Travis Zimmerman, or a comment. Because the comment is, if you can find it, the comment, I think, is a very good one. And it's certainly going to be discussed as the trade deadline approaches tomorrow. It's Travis.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it here.
Yep. I'll start to tell you.
Okay, sounds good.
It's essentially asking the question, does Bill Guerin look at Colorado and Dallas and say, as currently constructed, I have enough to beat them. I have enough to beat them in the playoffs. And Colorado, Billy needs to ask himself if the current roster can beat the Stars and Avs in a 7-game series. If his answer is anything other than equivocally yes, he needs to get on the phone. And I don't think the answer is yes. And yes, the Avs made a minor move. Of course, they did give up a first-round pick in 2027. But if you look at them down the middle now, AJ, it's McKinnon, Brock Nelson, who they made a splash for and gave up a lot for at the deadline and traded with the Islanders last year. Jack Drury, who's been playing pretty well on the third line and has good chemistry with Parker Kelly. And now Waugh. If you look at Vegas, I'll go back to that. And Vegas is a weird team. They're not great. But, now it's Eichel, Marner, Hurdle, and Waugh. Dallas, I fully expect to make a move. It might be Kadri. So to go back to that question, I think, Age, the answer is no. Like, if you're being honest with yourself tonight and saying, if Dallas gets Kadri, do we have enough? Are we good enough? And I don't care. You can have home ice. You can have more points than the Stars. I highly doubt that you're going to have more points than the Avs. But I don't think that you can seriously look yourself in the mirror with how the Wild looks down the middle and say, it's enough. Maybe you get by Dallas. I don't think you got a prayer against the Avs. And please do not tell me, well, they beat the Avs in the regular season. The regular season and the playoffs are different animals. It's a 7-game series. You got to win 4 times. And often the best team wins, and often the deeper team wins. So I think it's a very fair question. And I think Bill Guerin continuing to work the phones as we think he is the answer of no. I don't think we have enough to get past 2 rounds.
I think you're right in saying you could beat Dallas in the first round because I mean they're going to be without Sagan for the rest of the year for sure.
Yeah, but that's why they can make a trade,
and that's why they can make a trade. So we'll have to see. This conversation might trade and might expire, and they make a trade that is just so overwhelmingly wow, what a shift for them. They're a completely different looking Stars team 24 hours from now. Second round, though, if you get past them, you're facing Colorado, and that is going to be tough. Like, that is a lot of congestion there up the middle for a team. That being said, if you run it 100 times, I don't think they're only beating them in a 7-game series once. Like, it's not a miracle.
Yeah.
I still think the goaltending Wild have the advantage there, and frankly, they're like, I guess no, they probably don't have. I just don't like that third pairing, and I'm not sure if. I don't know. Defense-wise, I think it's up for debate. Obviously, we saw the McCarr-Hughes debate at the Olympics, and now some people have shifted there. How good Brock Faber is compared to Devon Toews, that's also a conversation. Forward-wise, you are looking center. It's a landslide victory for the Colorado Avalanche. But could they just get to a point where they overwhelm and fluster that Mackenzie Blackwood and they expose maybe the defensive depth? That's where I think you need to at least add Vincent Trocheck would be a number one center on this team for sure. But if that price is astronomical and Billy doesn't want to leverage the future on this guy, you got to still, I think, do something. What are the other options there? I've seen people in the chat here suggesting, like, what's the price for Steven Stamkos? I think that's still probably a one center for this team. A Ryan O'Reilly is still a one center for this team. Who are the next tier down that you think this is it? And that's where I think I threw it on the show yesterday with Jesse, Evan Rodriguez with Florida. I haven't heard much about him, see much stuff with, are they shopping? Are they holding? I'm not exactly sure there with Florida, but there's got to be some other guys. The one that I know we kind of joked about in a text thread today with Jesse is Eric Holla. Are you just going to go back to Nashville, who weirdly enough just have an excess of centers to move here at this deadline? I'm not sure who that 2C is. Do you think that step down, though, from a Trocheck, from a Stammer, from an O'Reilly does swing things enough to where if you have a second round matchup with Colorado, it benefits the Wild enough to where you feel confident in them?
If you get a center?
Yeah.
If you get the right center, yes. Well, yes, I feel way confident. I feel like your weakness up the middle is going to allow the Avs to beat you. And the goaltending might be a wash. Like, I just don't know. And because I'm sure Avs fans are saying the same thing that we are, which is Philip Gustafsson. I don't know about him, and you really don't know about him. So I feel like that's a wash. Overall defense, the blue liners, there's a really good debate there. Like, it's a great debate. Makar is fantastic. Hughes, great. Faber, probably better than Taves by a bit, but Taves is a good player. But I feel like when you look at the centers, that's the key thing. The issue here, though, now what makes it so intriguing is, and we can talk about McCarron. I know that we're not like super jacked about that. He can win faceoffs. But the issue that we're really facing now is if Yurov stays, which it certainly seems like he's going to, this needs to be a top 6 guy. So like Scott Laughton, not a top 6 guy. Holla is what? Holla is, I mean, I'm not having him step in and immediately center that first line.
For the record right now, he's the second line center on that Nashville team as of right now.
Okay. Your guy, Rodriguez in Florida, he plays on the third line.
Yeah.
Is he a first line guy? And by the way, I'm with you. I like him a lot. But this is a very, like, you are now looking for a guy who can sort of be a 1 or a 2, and you're going to ask him to be a 1, and Ek becomes a 1B. So, like, I'm not suggesting that you're going to get Wayne Gretzky. I am suggesting that you are in sort of a pickle where when you look at a potential playoff matchup and you're looking at McKinnon and Nelson, you are like, whoa, which is, I go back, I agree with you. So I pulled the centers only from the TSN current trade ranking board, available players. Okay. And I pulled from within the top 45. So I'm going to run through this list and I'm going to give you the ranking at which they fall in the overall board.
Okay.
So and this includes all players that are on this board. So this is everyone who can be traded still. Okay. Number 1, Trocheck, which is really high, but okay. Number 2, Kadri. Number 3, Robert Thomas, who, by the way, I think the Blues are gauging the market, and if somebody makes a stupid decision, they can have him. But, you know, Buffalo, originally thought about throwing in Owen Power, and then it sounds like Buffalo's like, I don't think that we can do that. And the Blues are like, okay, bye. So I'm not really convinced that Robert Thomas is available unless you do something that we would be like, that was probably not very smart.
You got to blow their socks off.
Yeah, so I'm not considering him. I think it's more of a bluff. I think they're shopping him to gauge his value. I think they might take him back to market this spring or summer. All right, so now we go from, and again, this is available players by TSN rankings, only centers I picked out. So Trocheck, Kadri, and Thomas are atop the board, 1, 2, 3. Number 12, he's the next center, Braden Shen. 2 years left on his contract. $6.5 million is his cap hit per 34, 61 games, 12 goals, 28 points. I looked it up. He's on the Blues first line right now. He is on the left wing, but Braden Shen is a center. And just for face-off background, He is this season 54.2 in the dot,
Mhm.
career 48.5.
Yeah, last season 52.3, and then he had 3 seasons prior to that sub 50. Um, I mean, what do you think is the price there though? Because you said he has one more year after this.
Yes, and all prices are going to be more than anyone wants to pay. Like
I
that's what you have to face.
is do we have to reframe it though, thinking wise? Because is it we need a 1C or is it we need a upgrade on the Wild 1C? Because the Wild 1C and the NHL 1C are two very, very different players.
I think it's top. I think the Wild needs a top 6 center who might be considered a second line center on most teams,
Okay,
but I
yeah.
don't think it can be any more bottom 6 guys.
Okay, well,
But like, so it's not a one. I think we talked about this before. It's like your best pitcher, your best starter in baseball, right?
yeah,
There's a very small amount of true aces. So everyone does not have a true ace, but everybody sort of has, or everybody has a one that they consider their one. You know, Trocheck's atop this entire board, and I would not sit there and unequivocally say he is a number 1 center, but he could be the Wild's one, and he and Eck would sort of be, and Trocheck superior on faceoffs, but he and Eck would sort of be like, okay, I'm comfortable here.
yep.
As opposed to you just got a 4th line guy or a 3rd line guy. And quite frankly, in Urov right now, and I'm sure there's growth there, but you have a 3rd line guy.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to replace him, and I ain't bumping him up to the 1st line for the playoffs.
So are you asking for a player that is like the same caliber or tier level of a Eriksson Ek? That's sort of what you're saying, right?
I'm saying in his own way, skill set. I mean, Eriksson Ek is a very unique skill set.
Absolutely.
But like,
he's
yes.
not a 1C.
But yes, but he is a definite top 6, right?
Yeah, so if you flip it, in the Wild were an atrocious hockey team.
Yep.
And they were looking to sell, and he was a guy that was on the trade block. The asking price, at least here in the Fredrickson household, is astronomical for Joel Eriksson. Granted, he's younger than Vincent Trocheck. He's got a great contract still, so it's very, very different. But I mean, you're asking a lot for a guy like that.
Yes.
Still, as we just agreed, not a 1C across the league.
Absolutely. So 12, Braden Shen,
Yeah.
veteran from the Blues, 34 years old. Number 16, and again, this is a bottom 6 guy, so I don't think he plays. 31-year-old Scott Laughton of Toronto, who is in the dot 56.7 this season. Now, that's one where I would have been happy getting him instead of McCormick. I don't know what the price was.
McCarron.
Oh yes, McCarron. All due respect to people named McCormick. That I would have been happy with him, but he is a bottom 6 guy. Number 17, you're not going to go near this dude. Elias Pettersson of the Canucks.
No.
He is a tremendous talent, or he was, but who knows what's happened there. Number 18, Teddy Bluger of the Canucks. Again, no thank you. Number 25, and now it's interesting, we're cooking with gas here more now. Ryan O'Reilly, 35 years old, but he's played 61 games, 22 goals, 59 points, has a year left on his contract, $4.5 million per season. And then right behind him on the board at 26, the aforementioned Steven Stamkos, 36 years old, 61 games played, 30 goals, 47 points. He has 2 years left at $8 million per. Now he's old, but but for who he is and the fact he has 30 goals right now, he is reasonable. And then last thing on the faceoffs, O'Reilly this year in the dot 55.4%. For his career, basically the same, 55.6. Stamkos, who can play the wing as well, he has won 211 faceoffs this season, lost 169. So he's at 55.5% this season, 50.5 for his career.
It seems those are the two guys that like I keep circling back to, O'Reilly and Stamkos. But the problem is, I'm almost positive we have on record that Stamkos has said he's not going anywhere, and O'Reilly might also be in the same boat of saying I don't really want to go anywhere. So even despite not having any trade protection, which still I understand, respect, but that's why Nashville right now is where they are, and teams like Vegas are where they are.
Yes.
So I would say, unfortunately, Steven, or excuse me, Ryan, we're gonna have you pack your bags.
The Preds are also now 6 points out of a playoff spot. Or I'm sorry, 5 points out at 62 points. They've lost 2 consecutive games. That's not bad. But they are 3-3-4 in their last 10. They're really not a playoff team.
No.
So I would say this on O'Reilly. If you want to win, you should come here. Like Stamkos, I get it, I guess. He doesn't want to be moved. He played in Tampa forever. I don't know about him, but I believe he's got protection. Ryan O'Reilly does not. And look, you're not asking for a long-term commitment here. And I know that the price wouldn't be cheap, but at the end of the day, if you're saying, and I think that you just did, that is your feeling of like the best possible fit, if it's not going to be a guy like Trocheck, I agree. Steps in, number 1 center. He's a pro's pro, 55.6% in the dot for his career. Like everything you sort of want is right there. That to me, if I was Bill Guerin, I would ask Barry Trotz's permission to call O'Reilly, and I would basically be saying it makes a ton of sense for you to come back here after your very brief stop before, when we facilitated the trade with you going to Toronto and to play here. And indeed then, if and when they win the cup, your number can go in the rafters as it belongs, considering you are the best center ever in franchise history.
Yeah, it just makes the most sense. I want it. Money wise too. You think about, you're gonna not. It's assumedly so that they're not going to hold on to Vladimir Tarasenko after this season, and if they do, they're not re-signing him to the $4 million cap hit that he's currently at. So that's essentially a wash right there. It's an extra $500,000 that you're having for the retaining of O'Reilly next season, because he's got that $4.5 million cap hit. Bill Guerin, I feel like if they got on a call, that he's the type of guy that could just kind of like, hey, let's just chat it up.
He's done this.
He's got that pull. He's such a charismatic guy. He's such like he's a life of the party. I mean, it's night and day difference from when Paul Fenton was the GM of the Minnesota Wild. Like if you got him on a call right now, if that was the case, I don't think you could. Like the social aspect is totally different, right? Bill Guerin, former player, he's a player's GM.
He went to Pittsburgh and did this.
Exactly.
He got traded to Pittsburgh, joined a team, with at the time Malkin and Crosby were younger, and helped him win a Stanley Cup. I mean, look at Bill Guerin's career. He just bounced around. Like he's a great player, but he eventually just bounced around and became, I guess, for lack of a better term at times, a mercenary. But he won a cup in Pittsburgh. He found a job there. So I'm with you. I think O'Reilly makes a ton of sense as a fix for now. Because AJ, I really don't feel this team can make a playoff run if they don't bolster this position. I really don't. It's so tough, and these teams are so good. And your team is good, but is there, next to goaltending in the playoffs, what is the importance? Is it second of being really good at center, winning faceoffs, and just being solid there? I think I think come playoff time, it's damn near imperative.
Do you think the Trocheck deal gets it done, though, for Ryan O'Reilly, if everything else were to be agreed, where he says, yep, I'd go there as long as it makes sense for Nashville to accept it, where it's your 2027 first-round pick, Charlie Strommel. Who else have we said? Either your pick of Carson Lambos, David Jiricek, or David Spacek. Is that going to get the job done, or do you even need more on top of that?
No, it should get the job done.
I would think so.
That's
right?
a huge pay for a guy who's mid-30s.
Could you argue that you take some away? I mean, probably not.
No, because Strammel, I thought it was Strommel.
I thought so too.
But Strommel is, because unless you can call him up and he says, I will sign with Nashville, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there's that threat, I'm telling you, the Rangers, can you imagine if Drury traded Trocheck and Strommel's like, peace out? No. Like, he's already in jeopardy of being fired. He'll be fired instantly if he hasn't already been fired by then.
Hear me out. Hear me out. How about your 2027 first, your David Jiricek, and then one of the other guys as well. And then that takes away the whole Strammel thing. And then if you have to, you use him as sort of a trade piece or something like that in the summer. Um, we're talking two prospects here. Granted, they're not your top ones. Or how about a Hunter Haight or something along these lines? Like, there's got to be something that can give way that Bill Guerin, similar to the F these picks mindset that he's had, considering they don't have a pick anytime in the first two rounds this year. They currently are without their second rounds in 27 and 28.
Yeah.
They have 27 and 28 first round picks right now.
Yep.
Like, clearly he doesn't care about those.
No.
He obviously hasn't met those players either. Those are figments of his imagination for all we know. But he's met a Hunter Haight. I'm sure he can also, in the back of his mind, say, well, you're not really helping us right now. That's fine by me. Something has to change and has to get moved out so that you can bring in a center. And we here, the people over 500 watching us now on this Thursday afternoon, people that fill out Grand Casino Arena and around the state of Minnesota can sit down on their couch and say, you know what? They came away a lot better post-trade deadline, and I'm confident that this team can make a run now. Not just past the first round, but can compete and try to make it to the Western Conference Finals.
Love it.
In the playoffs. You need something like that.
Yep. And by the way, if you are among the, did you say 500 plus joining us?
We're up to 560 right now.
Okay, if you're among the 560 people, first of all, we appreciate you. Second of all, welcome to Judd's Hockey Show and the new Judd's Hockey Show channel here on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate it. We are now north of 3,000 subscribers. We want to keep that going. Hopefully the Wild, I mean, this is partially selfish. We are hoping that the Wild makes a splash trade because one, we're going to do a live show tomorrow, which will be lots of fun. And two, we would love to see this team make a long playoff run so that we can all celebrate and talk hockey well into May and perhaps even June. So that is why, but yes, as Graham says there, like, subscribe, and share. Dang it. We appreciate that, Grant, and we appreciate all of you who are watching. I got to ask you about one more name because it came up in the Athletic piece again today, and it just keeps coming up. It does not excite me, but I want your response. And that is the name of 34-year-old Columbus forward center wing Charlie Coyle, who I guess the Blue Jackets are saying they're not going to move, but of course they are because they're not going to be like, oh, we can't wait to dump him.
They're playing hard to get. Yeah.
It's been a weird year there. They fired poor Dino. Then a bonus came in, and they actually played really, really well. So I think they are a playoff contender now. Coyle, who, of course, started his career here, now 34. He's played in 60 games this season, 16 goals, 46 points, a cap hit of $5.25 million, but you'd be getting him at the end of his contract. He's going to be a UFA, and I also found this. So he is a wing at times, but he has won this season 50.1% of his faceoffs. He has won 446 faceoffs and lost 445 this season. For his career, he is 48.8 on faceoffs. What are your thoughts? And I just continue to dismiss it myself. What have your thoughts been on Charlie Coyle? Because I don't think Russo and Smith would continue to mention him if it weren't at least somewhat of a reality.
I want to think that the only reason his name keeps getting brought up is because he's a former Minnesota Wild player. And so there's that talk about like, oh, he's familiar with the landscape and he knows the fan base and all that stuff. For as much as we just sort of talked about what they need, he feels like the opposite. Sure, he can win just better than 50% of his draws, but he also sort of feels like he's not as big, but he feels like a Michael McCarron type where he's going to be in your bottom six. I mean, for as bad as we're talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets right now, sure, they had a little bit of a resurgence at one point after firing Evason, but he's their third line center behind Adam Fantilli and Sean Monahan. Can you put him on the top line of this team between Zuccarello and Kaprizov?
Yeah.
He's got 30 assists, so maybe there's a playmaking ability there. But at the same time, what has changed? What has changed from the last time he was here to now? Obviously, he found himself a little bit, and he found his game, similar to almost like what Sturm did, I think, with his role out in Boston.
Yeah.
Maybe time away from Minnesota helped him grow, and maybe he's a completely different player. But the Charlie Coyle that I know, and the one that I watched, and the one that I've watched from afar over the past handful of seasons, doesn't feel like that final missing piece we're talking about here. Like, I feel like you have to aspire to a little bit of a higher realm, and that just I think what they're searching for sits above where Charlie Coyle is. I would be very disappointed if that's the final move here.
It does, and also again to go back to what we sort of said as the guidelines, I don't think that's a guy that you can put, to your point, on that first line.
Yeah.
Again, I'll go back to what I said. Some of these guys I think would have been preferable, in my opinion, to McCarron, right?
Yeah.
And now he can win faceoffs. That's great. In fact, he is, I looked this up today, he is a faceoff wise, Michael McCarron has 59 games, 52.8% right-handed shot. But I think when you made that move, I think it's logical to assume that Michael McCarron's going to be your fourth line center. Nico Sturm's going to be scratched, right?
You'd think so.
Ryan Hartman's still your first line guy, which I don't really love. Now Hartman on faceoffs is at he is at 44.2%. This is the thing to keep in mind. So Sturm is probably going to give way to McCarron. Nico Sturm is at 54.3%. Eriksson Ek is at 48.6. Hartman's at 44.2. And Urov is at an ungodly terrible 38.9. So I think Sturm gets scratched. I don't think that they are super happy with his production. I think they're trying to essentially redo that entire fourth line for the playoffs, which, okay, that's fine. But you sort of tied up now the bottom six. And you're looking at a situation where if you don't trade Hartman, and I don't think you're going to, if you don't trade Hartman and you do get a guy that can play top six and plays with Zuccarello and Kaprizov age, I think you're talking about Hartman going to the third line center and Urov probably splitting off to wing.
I agree.
That's my guess. And Hartman as the third line center in the playoffs, I don't have a problem with. But this is sort of a puzzle now. And as you put the pieces of the puzzle together, you gotta at least have a semblance of the right piece. And I just don't know that the Charlie Coyles of the world are a semblance. They're bodies, and they're not bad players, but you're trying to beat the Stars and the Avs here. You're not trying to just be competitive. You don't want to come away from another freaking first-round series by saying, we gave him a good battle. You know, the Golden Knights, we gave him a good battle. It was a lot better than it was. At some point in time, that's just hollow. Who gives a crap?
Yeah, you keep losing. There's no valiance in. Why am I supposed to applaud you on the back for just you made them sweat a little bit more this year? Oh, as they walked into the Western Conference Finals again. I fear we're going to have to get to the territory of, and granted, this is what I just normally do. If they don't make the move that we're all expecting or maybe hoping for, am I going to have to talk myself into like, well, you know what? When Ryan Hartman is on his game, boy, is
can't
he...
do it. I can't do that.
See, I know you can't, but I'm not there yet, unfortunately, like in my life. Like I'm not 30 yet. So I feel like I'm able to have a little bit of hope and let myself be dumb. But I'm going to be let down at the end of the day because it's the roller coaster. When he's on his game, don't get me wrong, he's a pleasant player to watch. He's not a top line center, but for this team, he may as well be. But when he gets low, we saw in the playoffs last year, and that's where a lot of the hype and positivity starting the season was, oh my God, we're going to get this version of Ryan Hartman. It's going to be great. We've seen it at times, but can you rely on that for an entire run of the playoffs? We saw it in the first series. That was 6 games. Can he do that 3 more times after that? Like consistently at that energy level, not be dumb. That's where I'm now talking myself back out of it because I like to be a smart, rational person. You have to do something else. You have to do something else. I'm not saying I need them to leverage the future on a Vincent Trocheck or something like that, but if the price is there, Bill Guerin, he's a big victim of FOMO, I feel like, and watching some of these other teams get their final pieces, I think is going to make his back a little itchier, and he's going to have to scratch that itch.
I just got a text from a friend who said, forget Trocheck, go get Matthews from Toronto, 100% serious. I texted him back, I'd love to do that. But first of all, I don't know that the Leafs are going to move off Matthews at the trade deadline. And second of all, what's that price tag? Like, I'd love to go get Jack Hughes. Now, he's not great on faceoffs, but he's Jack Hughes. You'd love to make those moves. But here's the interesting thing. Those are the moves, and this is where the Wild's trying to play both sides here. Those are the moves that if a team like the Wild's going to make them, for a guy like, or make a pitch for Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, Brady Tkachuk, who likely will get moved. Mm-hmm. How much is Bill Guerin trying to save bullets for that? And then the second part of my question is the Wild not trading Yurov because they love him and they consider him damn near untouchable, or are they not trading him because they're going to trade him this summer, or at least try to? Now, when we're talking the real estate of Matthews or Tkachuk or Jack Hughes, there's a chance that a team will just say no. Like, if we're going to trade the player at all, which they might not, we're going to take what the Kings are offering because it's 10 times more. But I do wonder, when we're talking about the reluctance to include pieces now, is that because you are in love with the player that you're keeping, or is that because that's going to be part of what you're going to offer in the summer? And then to come back full circle to what we talked about on our last show, or 2 days ago, it might have been on Tuesday, the other issue is, does the Wild even have enough to make those trades? Like, it ain't like they got a lot of draft picks left. So does Yurov and Volstead and, I don't know, a 2030 first round pick? And I'll feel pretty hollow, though, if the feeling is, you know what we said? Wait till next year. I feel like when you go get Jack Hughes, that's not a stop sign age. That's a green light. And so if they come out of this saying, well, it was too much. It was too much. And by the way, wink, wink, wait till this summer. First of all, that's dangerous territory. We've been there before. We have been there before. You remember July 1st, 2025, right?
Yep.
All hell's going to break loose. We're going to get everyone we want. Nobody's available. No, you re-sign Kaprizov. That's great. But it's a dangerous, dangerous world to live in futures when the present is presenting an opportunity that I do believe if you do it right, you got a shot. You got a shot, AJ.
Well, Judd, we've got breaking news here. I don't have a sounder, but the Wild have made a trade with the Florida Panthers.
Evan Rodriguez?
Unfortunately, no. They have acquired, I just want to make sure I have the player right here for you. They have right-handed defenseman, 38-year-old Jeff Petry from the Florida Panthers.
Oh, my God, that guy's bounced around more.
For a conditional 7th-round pick.
Really?
Yes, really. Jeff Petry, 38 years old, 6'3", right-handed shot.
Yes.
Is that shaping up as the first piece as a depth defenseman in maybe they're going to be moving a prospect defenseman of a...
Well, they just got the kid from the Flyers who's also a right shot. Jeff Petry has been around. I don't know what's up with this. This guy is should be named Suitcase Petry. He has been with Montreal. He's been with Detroit. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, his dad is former Tigers pitcher Dan Petry. I think Jeff has been in Pittsburgh. Like, he literally has just bounced around. I wonder what this means.
Yeah, he's gone Oilers, Canadians, Penguins, Red Wings, Panthers.
Yes, yep. And his dad pitched for the Tigers when I was a kid. I think he was the second or third starter behind Jack Morris. That is really interesting. Okay, so he's a right-handed shot.
Right-handed shot. He's got 8 assists on the season. He's a -10 through 58 games.
Interesting.
Does he have any PIMs? He's got 22 PIMs on the year. So, I mean, it's...
Is there concern about Bogo?
There might. I mean,
he's been hurt on and off all season.
Does that... I'm getting a hint at they're moving a Juracek. That's... Because that in my mind is also a depth guy right now. They're not playing him consistently.
Jeff Petry's not going to go down to Iowa. So like you're just saying
you're right.
Plug him in or something up with Bogosian. he blocked a shot right early in the season, and then he was in a walking boot, and then he got and then he was fine, and then he did something again, and he was in a boot again. And yeah, I'm like this is turning into geriatric central too, by the way.
Is
But
it
that's
is
an
it a
interesting
Jared
move.
Spurgeon? Because you were mentioning with an
Oh,
observation the other night that he went down a couple times during that game in an awkward way, and this was not something
right
that
hand
we've
shot.
been talking about. But I think you said he blocked a shot 2 or 3 games ago, and when he was
Two
playing the
games
other,
ago.
yeah,
Blues game, he blocked a shot, hobbled off, looked like he was in pain. And then last game, he sort of mysteriously, oddly just fell twice. It looked like he toe picked. The first time I thought he might have toe picked, but he did it again in front of his own bench. And I have not seen a National Hockey League player toe pick twice in the same game, I don't think, ever, especially one who's really good. Super interesting.
Qdo33 says, "Whoa, Dallas gets Tyler Myers and we get Jeff Petry." Yes,
I
buckle up
thought
for
you
the
were
next.
proven prophetic. I thought Evan Rodriguez was coming here. That's it's clearly a depth move, but you're right. It makes me wonder if there's something else to it.
I would like to think there has to be. That being said, if it is a Jared Spurgeon thing, let's explore this. If Jared Spurgeon is going to miss time, do you think one Jeff Petry can cover that with the rest of your defensive core being Quinn Hughes, Brock Faber, Jonas Brodin, Jacob Middleton, Zach Bogosian, insert Damon Hunt, Jeff Petry, etc. there, or do they go out and fill that role with a right-handed defenseman instead and say, you know what, we have to punt on the whole center plan? That changes things drastically if it does for the final 24 hours.
It does, but I don't know that you can afford to punt on that plan.
I don't think so either. I think that's much more important.
I mean, it is a shame that this does bring up, to go back to the name that you mentioned, it is an absolute shame that they have concluded clearly Jurasek can't play. Like,
Yeah.
that's a shame. You don't have to do this if he can play. And they have clearly concluded he can't play, which is really too bad. Yeah, this gets me thinking on a whole different level, but I still think as far as at the end of the day, your prize has to be that center. I think it does.
Another small update for you as well. John Hines reported earlier that Marcus Johansson will miss the next couple of games, will not be going on the trip after taking that hit yesterday.
I'm sure he's concussed. And Russo wrote he has a history of concussions. So this is not good news.
Well, that's not.
But I mean, this happens. This is the thing. Guys get, like you're not going to go through a playoff healthy this time of year. I think, boy, I mean, it's still Boldy and Eck. And JoJo's had a really nice year for a guy who's ripped him up and down for 2 years or so. He's a really nice season. But yeah, if you can get him back here in like a week or so, and if you can't, I feel like all of these forces, AJ, are like trying to distract us from the main thing. And the main thing is a center. And so I refuse to become distracted. I refuse to become, it's all these shining lights. Hey, we made a trade for Jeff Petry. Mm-hmm. Oh no, JoJo's out. Now who's going to replace him? And Sports Dad is saying, no. I only care about one thing. Are you going to get that center?
Stay the course.
Yes, exactly right. Keep your eye on the prize.
Yes.
The prize is a center. The prize is that. So, yeah, the Petry thing I think has to do with current construction. Because I thought that the right-handed kid that they picked up from the Philadelphia Phantoms of the American Hockey League, I thought that was for depth in Iowa. But Petry's a veteran. He's not going down there. So they definitely wanted to get some type of insurance. If somebody's not hurt, I think they are concerned about a right-handed shot, and he does give them veteran depth.
Yes, and I think Ryan here. No, it wasn't. It was Ozo says Petry can't play Spurgeon. Yeah, he cannot play Spurgeon.
Oh yeah. You're just hoping to get a guy that can play.
Yes, absolutely. It's speaking for everybody curious potentially about his playoff acumen. He has 4 different appearances in the playoffs in 14-15, the 16-17 season, the 19-20 season, the 20-21 season, all with Montreal. He's played 48 games. Has never won a cup. I think he made it to the cup final that year when the Canadians got there against, oh God, who did they do it? I think it was No, they got to the final against
to Tampa.
The Eastern
In the
Conference
bubble?
final against Tampa. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because
yeah.
they
no,
they could.
no, they got, I think they played it in the Stanley Cup because it was the bubble year, right? And so the teams.
Oh, that was the reseeding, right?
Montreal. Well, no, Montreal was in that Canadian deal, and then they had
Oh,
teams
yeah.
cross over because that's the year that the Wild was sort of in the Pacific Division with like the Kings.
Yeah.
So I believe they
remember that
played.
now.
I think they lost to Tampa in the final because the entire thing was screwy, and so they didn't care about the conferences. And yeah, he played because I liked him, and then he just kept getting traded, and now he's been traded again.
Well, now it's 7
He's like-
years later.
The guy's like he's like my age.
We acquired Jesse, 38 years old.
Yeah, okay. I was just texting her. I was seeing here just on air production meeting. I'm seeing here if Jesse can join us quickly if available to provide insight because she was at practice today, and I didn't know that there would be breaking news potentially.
They practiced.
She was at they talked to Hines.
Well, true, but that doesn't mean they practice. We know how many off.
No,
days.
I think they did practice today. They took Wednesday off. They played Tuesday. They took Wednesday off. They practiced today, and then I think they left for Vegas, right?
Yeah.
They played the Golden Knights tomorrow night. So, yeah, they took Wednesday off. They practiced today. I'm hoping it was a full team practice. I'm hoping that a bunch of the guys who did not play for 3 weeks, although I will give them credit, I thought that they looked like a lot more of a cohesive team in the last game against Tampa Bay. And Kirill continues to look, I think, absolutely like that 3 weeks might have helped Kirill as much as anyone in the entire league.
Yeah, that's what.
She can't join us. She's got to go get the kids. Let's see here. She said,
That's more
I've got to
important.
go get my kids, sadly, but I'll check in from the pickup line after I'm parked. Oh, we'll probably be done by then. We'll probably be done. I'll say, don't sweat it. We'll be going again tomorrow. Hey, tomorrow the deadline's at 2:00.
It is.
I say we start live. I say we go live unless there's a trade before that. But if there's not a trade before that, I say we go live about 1:45 and then just take it through to like 3:00 because, if a trade comes into the queue, it counts.
It sits there, yeah.
So it just sits there. But the 2:00 deadline is for the trades to be submitted, but then trades will continue to leak out past 2:00. So for those of you who join us live, much appreciated. Don't forget, like, subscribe, the new Judd's Hockey Show channel here on YouTube. And Jesse will join us as well. So, but I think if we go 1:45 to 3:00 to break things down, we can either celebrate it or if they make no moves, we can really deconstruct that. And I'm going to tell you right now, I won't be happy about it. I won't be happy one bit. I know you want to be optimistic, but they need a center.
Quick update on that conditional 7th round pick. The condition it becomes a 5th round selection in the 2026 NHL draft if Minnesota wins 2 playoff rounds and Petry plays in 50% or more of the Wild's playoff games during those first 2 rounds.
Either that's not going to happen or that condition really frightens me.
I can't imagine if people are healthy, there's no shot he's cracking the lineup, but that's where
It's probably nothing.
that should just be a 7th round pick. So instant
Yeah, that's
reaction
fine.
is that one doesn't bother me as much.
No,
But it worries me for what it potentially means health-wise.
The
What are they
McCarron
trying
trade-
to cover up?
Yeah, that's true. And the McCarron trade now probably shouldn't bug you as much as it did on Tuesday when you see the prices out there. Now, there's
Yeah.
guys I would have preferred, don't get me wrong, Waugh being one of them. Nick Waugh I like, so I would have preferred him. But, the McCarron trade was sort of an appetizer for, how some people said it was going to be a buyer's market? It's never a buyer's market this time of year. It never will be.
No.
All right, so if something else pops today, we will be back. We
Yes.
will be back. If nothing else pops, we'll be back again. JHS. We're going to start 1:45 Central on Friday. We're going to go till about 3:00. Hopefully, there's a lot to discuss. If nothing else, there will probably be a lot to discuss about what goes on around the league, including with one of the Wild's arch rivals, the Dallas Stars, who I think are probably going to make a move as well. But beyond that, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you as always. Like and subscribe. Have a great evening. Enjoy yourself. Have a beverage. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Just make sure that it's within the boundaries of good taste, of course. He's AJ. I'm Judd. We'll see you later.